Yo, yo, yo. Good morning, everybody. Good morning. Good morning. Who do we have? Boothie, see Martin, Robert. Nice. Hey, guys. Robert with your Inertia³ 003. I don't know what number this will be, but I think we're pretty damn close to having it finished. So I'm excited about that. Ran into a little bit of issues with it, trying to home and whatnot. The tool head I was using. Hey, Happy. Good morning. Adjust this up a little bit. There we go. Ran into some issues where I was using a Reaper and it didn't have an x-axis end stop on it. So I was going to use sensorless, but couldn't get that working. So fought through it. Turns out that I needed to use an older version of the Reaper carriage, and it's in the archive files on their GitHub. So I had to go back through that, print that part, and then I printed the wrong one because it was the ultra high flow version, and it put the eddy sensor too low. So then I had to reprint it. And then when I went to assemble, turns out the way that the extruder carriage portion mounts uses bolts from the back. Well, the version I had didn't do that, so I had to reprint that part. So about 4 hours of printing, heat inserts and all that kind of stuff. So pretty much all day yesterday, rebuilding the tool head and everything. So that was a fun challenge. And then, you know, updating all the firmware. Had to redo the belts twice and retension everything twice. But checking on it this morning, seems like it's moving and homing and all that kind of stuff. So I should hopefully be able to print something here today. So I'll take you over and show you where we're at. We do need to calibrate Z, but this is where we are. So if the tool head, bring that out to the center here. That's kind of what we're looking at. But just to show you that we are homing and moving now, we can home X, Y. I actually figured out the fan stuff as well. So when we home, the electronics fans actually turn on. I have not looked into why the bed fans won't turn on, but it's a thing. There we go. So things are homing the correct way. The other stuff I need to do is over here in Chrome. I need to look at using the Eddy, and so how to calibrate it and all that stuff. So wiring is pretty straightforward. Just plug it in. Hey, thanks, Boothie. It was not an easy task. It was pretty frustrating at times, just getting through it. And that's nothing to do with the build. It's just the configuration, the board I was using with the hardware that I'm using. So I did all this stuff. So natively, and this is my final answer on this one. So with Calico, it natively supports Eddy probes. And I think Clipper mainline has an update as well to support Eddy probes. So I don't know that this portion on the fly docks is necessary anymore. I went ahead and added in this Moonraker stuff, but I don't know that it's important right now. Because when I ran this, it told me that my Clipper install was dirty, and we'll find out if it's actually required. Because if you have a good, you know, quad gantry level, I think you're going to be fine. And I couldn't see anything in the macro that would be different from what I would do anyway. There is a quick scan and then a more fine scan if you want to do that, just to get your corners level. But I believe I had that already. So we can double check real quick. But if I come into the macro, I did add the motor sync macro in here. And if you're looking for that, if you look for the all-wheel drive motor, there's this one here. You just kind of follow through talks about how it works and everything, and it uses your accelerometer to figure out how your motors are moving, and then it'll synchronize those motors together. So after you run the script, you can just add the config here. I didn't change any of the default stuff, but if you want to run it from the console, you can do it with these values. And then if you want it to happen automatically, you can put it into your slicer during the preheating. So if you're adding to slicer, you would add it there. If you want to do it as a variable, which is how I did it, you can add this to your macro section in your config. And then you need to calibrate it. So we'll have to run through that as well. We'll end up adding some additional lines of stuff to our printer config, and that's fine. And I think that's about it. So we need to probably start with our fly docs. So it tells us to calibrate first, and then we have two small steps. So number one, check safe Z home. We can do that real fast. Yeah, all of this looks fine. I'm not seeing anything crazy in here. I don't have an Nevermore, and I'm not using beacon contact, this section here. So those are all commented out. And then for the safety home, that would be in printer config and under all of the stepper stuff. Right there. So I'm going to home to the center of the bed. And my Z hop I can change. We can do that to be 5, I guess. Okay, click the macro command, calibrate DD. All right, so let's see if this macro is actually here. Calibrate DD. And then you have calibrate Eddy. So I'll take you to see what happens on the printer here once we select the button. I've got the sheet removed so that I don't damage a brand new build plate. I like to do that until I'm sure, or fairly sure, that I'm not going to wreck anything. You know, if I gouge a magnet a little bit, I'm okay with that, but the plate sucks. If I calibrate DD, it's homing X and Y, and I don't like the way that's working. So there's something going on in there with coming back to the center. I don't know if you guys saw that, but I mean, the motors are moving fine. It homed fine. But when it tries to go to the center, it's not really working. And I wonder if that's something to do with the macro. So we'll take a look at that macro. Okay. Calibrate Eddy, probably that one versus the calibrate DD. Because I am not seeing calibrate DD. Here we go. This is it. X, Y. Hey, Tactical Printing. Good morning. Trying to figure out this home Z situation here. Put those out so I can see what's going on. It's actually a little bit chilly in the garage this morning. We're doing about 56 degrees this morning. We got the doors open to aerate the place. Got a little chill in there. Close the door over there real quick. Let's see. Does anyone also notice that the volume of the stream is really low? Always have to buff it up if I come from another stream. I'm sorry if that's the case. can bump my volume up a little bit if you like. Yeah, Boothie's saying audio is okay. But tactical printing, I have to do that as well on a lot of the streams I watch. Some are louder than others. Okay, so move. I'm just trying to unscrew the screen here. There we go. All right, so this is what I'm looking at for a for config. There we go. I think that looks better right there. All right, so that's what we're looking at for a config, and I don't really know what is causing this thing to grind. I think it's about 20% lower than other streamers. Other streamers probably have a 20% better mic than I do. I don't know, man. I can try to move this closer to my mouth. I can do some other things with some volume for you, but realistically, it's gonna kind of be what it is. Audio is always a challenge for me on this stream for whatever reason. I'm not exactly sure why, but it is a thing. That can also be the issue. Yeah, for sure. This is my what is this, like a $45 mic? No, I appreciate the update. It's in the cards. Maybe one day we'll get a better mic and a better setup, but you know, we're iterating over time. Okay. So I think what I can do is so when I calibrate DD, it's supposed to home and then go to the middle of the bed, but it doesn't want to do that. You got the DJ mic mini and it's really good. Yeah, I was looking at a DJI mic. That seems to be what the popular folks use. I would love it to be magnetic. So the reason that I'm even wearing like this lanyard on my neck is so that the mic, you see the mic is like closer to my mouth. It's non-magnetic. So I have to figure out a solution. And then I saw that I had a couple of these lanyards hanging out. I got this one at Rocky Mountain. So I use it now because I don't like the mic attached to my collar. Yeah, the DJI is magnetic. That's the one I'm looking at, but again, it's a little pricey for right now. So I don't really know what is going on with the. I think I can just run calibrate Eddy because it does the same sort of stuff. So it's disabling motors and then it homes X and Y, it drives it to the center of the build area, set Z as 0, and then calibrates the probe. 89 euros for the combo one mic and receiver, and that's enough. Yeah, so when I first got started, I was not wanting to spend, buku bucks. I've only been streaming for about 4 or 5 months. So I chose to, instead of the mic, this one is decent enough, right? $40 on the mic, and then the cameras, I chose to invest in the camera. So next purchase will be a better mic, but we got to get there first. Okay. So it's doing all the things, and then it drives to there. And then it does a temp compensation. I feel like I could just run calibrate Eddy. This temperature probe stuff, every time I enable that, it just throws an error. So I can't even enable that, maybe until I calibrate it. So figuring out this Eddy thing, I think, is going to be the next big task. Let's see what happens here. Homing X, homes Y, then coming back to center, it grinds. I'm not sure why that's a thing. Anybody have an idea? Because that's really odd that it would do that. Don't really know why it would do that. Because if I home again, and things are moving just fine. And if I go, let's take this to the center. Moves to center just fine if I type in where I want it to go. No issues. Good morning, Clown Hammer. But I'm not able to home Z right now until I calibrate, right? You can see the probe Eddy current calibrate first. But if I click the macro, is the safe home config to bed size? Yeah, it is, right? But the macro doesn't care about that. So if I look at the safe home in here, so it's at 150, 150. Speed is fine. And then if I compare that over here, Z-hop is 10. So maybe we make this 10 just to eliminate that. And then if I take this and do that, that's exactly what it should be. Dividing the max bed size by 2 and adjust. Yeah, so should be good there. And then, yeah, let's try. I wonder if I just manually make this something else, right? So if I comment that one and do E0 X 150 Y 150 F 6000. Are you still running a homing script? No. I don't know what you mean. It should be running the macro. So the macro right here, that's what it's running. From the centralist homing? I don't think so. So I didn't have a, I mean, we can look at the macro. I'm seeing, start. Imprint, QGL, MPC. There's your bed temp weights. Commented out all of these other things. And these are just like testing macros, and that's it. So there should not be a script. If I go into printer config, I'll show you the motor changes here. So centerless homing is false. I mean, to make it even better, we can comment out. There are no weird things in here because it does use the end stop. Homing speed is 50 there. It's 50 on Y. Again, centerless is false, but we can comment it out. Both end stops are at max. Just making sure that rotation distances are the same on all motors, and they are. I mean, so I'm not seeing anything that would be, I don't know, weird or crazy. Change the X configs after changing to mech in stop. I have, right? So again, there's the in stop pin using the tool headboard. And then coming down to the steppers. I mean, these are all the same. You know, obviously the motors are different. I wonder though, let's see, stepper Y is motor 1. Is that matching up here? Stepper Y, motor 1. X1 is motor 2. Y1 is motor 3. Yeah, those match. So there's no config in here that should be changed. Not that I can tell, at least. This is all fan stuff. Changed in the TMC section? No, there's nothing in the TMC section. It's pretty vanilla. Oh, sorry. Here, I had you on the wrong page. I apologize. Instead of stressing your eyes, I'll just show you what I'm talking about. So nothing here different in the stepper for the TMCs. And then coming up to the X in stop, you get your in stop pin. That's the same, or that's on the tool headboard. That's what it should be. Commented out centerless. It's almost like the motors are fighting one another. It's got to be something in this PZ config here. So this didn't change anything. So we can revert back to where we were for that. It's only when it tries to come back to center. And so I'm trying to, you know, wrap my mind around what it could be. The only thing I can think of is that yeah, everything looks okay. The only thing I can think of is that it has to be something to do with X and Y working together to move in diagonal motion. So it seems like, I don't know. It just seems like they're not working together to do that. think I can comment out the QGL here. I have my own, and it's not much different from this one. If I need to, I can adapt this over. Yeah, this calibrate DD though, like I don't fully understand what is happening. That's a pretty benign, simple macro, but it doesn't work. Well, the first half of it worked. So homing X and Y, and then when it tries to go to the center, it doesn't want to go to the center. So we'll try this one more time. Expecting the same result because nothing changed. It's just that little bit there. I'm not sure what that grinding is about. It's that initial drive. It worked itself out and kind of came to the center anyway. So let's see if we can go back to the dock here. So it has us run the DD macro to bring it to the center, and then it says run the calibrate Eddy macro, which I believe runs the same thing. So do I really need both? Yeah. Is the macro reducing the voltage? I don't believe so. So look, it worked fine that time. Nothing, no grinding on that one. So not really sure what that was about. But now we're in a probe situation here. That's just really strange. Either way, let me grab a sticky note. I like using these. They work fine for me. Again, we're going to level to the magnet here. I don't care about changing it later. I'd rather damage a magnet a little bit versus damaging a PEI sheet. I wish I could type it in here because going one at a time kind of sucks. Yeah, it won't let me type anything. I guess I'll be clicking 240 times just to get through this. The bed is moving, that's good. Moving the right direction as well. May need to move my sticker up a little bit. I need to see what's going on. This is my my Wrath spirit animal sticker here. Something like that. Yeah, so Boothie, to answer your question a little more thoroughly, I don't have a home current set, so it's not cut in half or anything like that. It's getting full current the whole time. Heard something kind of crack over here. What was that? Oh, that's my Yeah, I need to add an extra link to the Z chain. I super glued it in place because one end of it is the floppy end. So I basically kind of have it backwards a little bit. So I need to go back and do that. So I just put a tab of super glue on it, and then it kind of got caught. Oh, what did I do? I closed it. We'll just run the macro again. Homing X. Homing Y. Grinding back to center, not sure why. Already in a manual. Please abort it. Yeah, but I closed the window somehow. We'll do it. Or at least in the window, I can close it by 10 at a time or more if I want. A little tight in there for my hand. Now we'll do fives. Now we'll do 2. Now we can do 1. Now we can do 0.1. Pretty close now. Should have did 0.5s. Getting a little crazy. Starting to get a little close. I can sort of feel that happening. Okay, so now a little tight. So we will that's about good. I'm happy with that. And the Eddy probe seems to be in the right spot. A couple millimeters off the bed. Perfect. And then we need to add in here the printer config file with the above and restart the printer. And that's what it wanted us to do, right? Oh, we're supposed to do except. My bad. Well, I guess we could run it again. I can't see anything that it's grabbing on. I don't know why it's doing that. I'll go back through and double check all the bearings and stuff, but when it gets in that back right corner, it's like it wants to stick. So maybe a little bit of racking in there. We'll double check it later. Yeah, it's only that corner, and once it gets out of the corner, it's fine. Is that a Reth sticker? It is, yeah. It's Reth on the tool head. The 3D printing elf sticker. We're halfway through the year. It's about time to start printing toys. A little bit too far there. Got happy with the button. Okay, so decrease here. That's why we have a button. Or we have no PEI sheet on. Okay, so probably that one. Give it one more. All right, that looks good to me. Accept that, and then save config and start. So it's going to add this into the printer config, and that should help out with that. All right, test homing is complete. It does not return home normally. Modify the reference current value by referring to the files below. Okay, so I need to add that somewhere. Because this is just spinning right now. I'm not sure why that's not accepting. But we can just add that in to see if it's in here already. I'm not seeing it, but we'll add, copy that. And we'll add this to the printer config at the bottom. There it is. It's already in there. Okay, now execute the temp compensation shown in the image and click to run. UI will show a different box mentioned above. Okay, so it has us do an initial one, and then it has us do one at temperature. Okay, probably have to run this one again later as well. Not heat the heat bed or nozzle before performing. Execute the macro. Oh, they got in there. 90, 250, 380, and whatever. Okay. Running this macro, where are we at? Temp compensation. Here we go. 90, 253, and that thing. Okay. Send it. Look at that. No grinding that time. No trigger on probe after full movement. Huh. Does that mean it is too far away? Let's do some investigation here. We're going to move 50 down. Force move. Let's make sure it's going the right direction first. Oh, so we want to go that way. Okay, so 50. That only moved 3 of the motors, not all of them. So what is going on? So I just did a force move. Hey, good morning, Rev. Check it out. Check it out. Look what we got. It's you. You like it? We're not getting a trigger on the z-axis today, and so that's what we're trying to solve. I want to double check to make sure I have the wiring correct. Okay, so that looks good there. Eddy reference, sure. Eddy use, okay. So looking at this photo, the blue tape should be out. Blue tape should be out on the toolhead board, and that's what mine looks like. And then on the back of the Eddy, the blue tape should be up, and it is. And both look to be in there. I don't see anything that would tell me it's loose. I mean, I'll get in there and double check real fast. I gotta move this bed down. That's crazy. Where's that set pneumatic? Is it a motor or Eddy probe issue? I think it's an Eddy probe issue. I don't know that it is moving or triggering like it should. Need to add this macro to make things easier on myself. Let's put that. Did you use a ferric Allen wrench to test the Z in stop? I didn't, not yet. That's kind of where we're at. You popped in at the right time. I just need to move the bed down so that I can do the thing you're recommending. Set something. I just added it. Take position. Do it. Now I should be able to move the bed down. Okay, so we'll look at the in stops here. I know X and Y work. My Z in stop is the weird one. It's got an in stop Z and it's got a probe Z, which that might have something to do with it. I'm not sure why I have both. Let's see. So looking at my Z in stop. I've got the right stuff. Probe, Z virtual in stop, and then we do not define the position. So that's fine. And then looking at the PZ probe or Eddy probe, it's all in here. So there should not be a Z in stop. Whatever. So there it is. Let's see if I can touch. Let's see what I got. That might be. That's probably ferric. So putting that right up against the probe. It is not triggering. So I will check the connections on the ribbon cable. Here. There's a very tiny ribbon cable that's a little bit difficult to get to. It's got a very small lever on there. And then like a very small 5-pin ribbon cable. So if anything, this lower one feels fine. feels connected and fully inserted. This upper one, a little different. Gonna need to unplug the and then I just felt the printer shut down because I heard the fan come on. But our whatever the hell that thing's called, orbiter sensor, no worky. All right, so removing the, I know you can't see this, I just don't have a camera over here, but I'm taking out that ribbon cable from the tool head board, and then I'll reinsert it, just trying to make sure that it goes in like it should, and straight, and all of that. It's just very difficult to get in there. Not the ribbon cable itself, but like get your fingers into where the tool head board has it positioned. Okay, I think I got it. All right, so that is in there. We'll just make sure the latch is closed. There should be no issues with this connection at all. There we go. Give a little tug test. It seems to be in there tight. Okay. Restart over here. Let's see if it triggers now. So again. Nope, not triggering. It's got to be that little ribbon cable. I don't know why it's not. Happy, I know you have one of these. Have you run into this? Yeah, that's not working at all. Kind of at a loss on that one, folks. Yours works okay. Can you verify for me that your wiring is set up like this one here? So I've got the blue tab out on this port, and I've got the blue tab up on this port here, and it's just not working out. I don't know why. So what I think I'll do is, just to be sure, I'm gonna take the probe off. Why is the nozzle hot right now? It should not be. At 220. Oh, because we ran that initial code. It should not be hot right now. Blew out, blew up. Thanks. Yeah, it's yeah, it was still running that test even after I disconnected and everything. It's crazy. So I'm thinking that maybe my ribbon cable is jacked up somehow. Unfortunately, I don't have a replacement for that. And I don't even know if you can get one. I think you might have to. You might have to get the whole set again. Gotta move this bed down a little more. What config am I using for the mellow Eddy? Yeah, I'm using the mellow stuff. Do you have something different? Yeah, happy. Taking a look at the. No, I use the mellow stuff. So I just have their PZ probe stuff here. I could not get this temperature probe to work. I don't know that that would matter too much though, because I should be able to see the probe here. I should see it trigger with that config. This one I probably need for other reasons, for like calibrating the temperature side of it. But that's what I'm using. Now I did not run all of these macros and stuff here. So I did not copy all this in. I don't know that I need to. It should trigger regardless. Config reference. Yeah, mine looks just like this. It's no different. Yeah, it's got these things in there. So I'm just going to, I don't know, do my best to try and wiggle some of these things around. I just saw a blue light come on. That's weird. See if I can trigger now. Oh no, end stops are not going to work. Hit the wrong button there and drop my tool. Okay. Refresh and stop. Where are we? Why is the tool head it continues to run this? It's like I started the temp calibration stuff. I touched the macro, and then it just wants to continue to do that versus stopping. See what I mean? Even if I do emergency stop, it'll rerun it. So I think what I'll do is I'll just restart this. Because as long as it is trying to run that macro, it's not going to allow me to fix up the end stop here. Everybody must be coming home or at Murph right now. I feel like it's about half the number of folks we usually see here. All right, let's see if that'll stop it from heating itself. What is this command here? They didn't have power? Oh, wow. I don't know if they shut it down, but I did see that Kilo posted something about not having power. I just want to see an in stop. Okay, so nothing there. Put this Allen key on it. Nothing. So it's not triggering at all. I'll tell you the probe side of it, fine. Like, it's the easy one to get in there. And I'll even move the bed up a little bit. That, and we'll do this one, this one. We'll move the bed up, and I guess. Move out of range. Force move. That's crazy. When you force move, it only does one. I think I need to update the force move parameters. Yeah, definitely. Okay, so just want the bed to move up a little bit so that it can be the trigger for the sensor. So I don't have to hold an Allen key there and try to click a mouse. Okay, so that should trigger all the time, just laying on the bed like that. And looking at stop. Still not triggering there. So I guess testing the other end up here on the, again, I just saw a light come on the tool head board when I touched it, and it's trying to run that stuff again. So it's like heating the nozzle. What continues to run? That is really strange. I mean, I suppose I should just let it finish. Like, I don't know. I don't know why it's doing that, but I guess we'll let it finish and see what happens. What's this macro do? Temp compensation, right? So it's going to home stuff, UGL, I guess, and then home Z starts the calibration stuff, the heater temperature for the bed to the temp and nozzle to the temp. I'll just try to do something. I heard the motors try to go. Not sure what it tried to do there. We're done with the hot end, at least. Something is. Yeah, something is trying to move. I can hear what sounds like the motor is trying to move. Now it looks like it's heating again. Unknown command, loading, heating filament. So restarting things did not turn off. This macro like continually wants to run with no reason. So I'll tell you what, let's stop Clipper. Yes. And the MCU. And we can restart these. And what I'm not going to do is set a kinematic position, because I feel like as soon as I did that, it tries to run the macro. And that's probably because it thinks it's homing. Anyway, we'll see about this cable. So there it goes again for no reason. Trying to do things and stuff. I'll tell you what, I'm going to just shut this down because I don't like that. All right, so printer is shut down, should not be doing things right now. We're going to power off and see if that stops that macro from trying to run. All right, it's actually quieter in here too. Okay, so I'm just going to pull the cable through. All right, we have this. All right, so this is what I'm looking at. Blue is up, and that seems to be fine. So that's in there. Give it a little tug test, it stays. The other end of it is harder to show you, but you have the blue side here as well, and that should be out. I don't see any damage on the cable or anything like that. I can see a line sort of scuff on there where it clamps down, but other than that, I don't see anything wrong with the ribbon cable. I'll double check to make sure I don't have another version of this somewhere. But I'm pretty sure this is the only one I have. Let's see. Got this other one, but this is a, I want to say this is a stealth burner version. So I've got another one here. So we'll try that. Luckily, I've got this other one. It even comes with plastic screws. So just in case this cable is damaged, we'll use this other version here. So it's like before, blue goes up. And I don't think it matters what side is what. We'll do that. Put that in here. And that is in there, so should be fine. Tug test says it's good. We'll bring these small. See, these are like plastic and 3 flathead screws, and they are Phillips. Get that little guy out there. That seems to work. We'll take this back over and see if there's any change. Okay, so let's see if we're able to fish this back up through. I hope so. I really don't want to take the whole tool head off just to get this thing back up through there. Come on, baby. Yeah, I think I might have to. I mean, I just can't see a way to get it through there. Well, let's see if I can go top down. If I can go top down, then I can just disconnect the Eddy. Or, you know what? We'll just go up the side. We'll have it come up the side like that. And then have that wrap around to there. I can secure that way. It's not as tidy. We'll get rid of these. I do. Did I lose my plastic screws already? Oh, there it goes. Just dropped it. Where'd it go? C1. There's the other one. Okay, they blend in with the granite countertop here. Because they're white and so is the granite. That bed's going to need to come way down for me to get my hand in there. What else can we do? I have a... So you get a little bit set. And if I take out just one of these and use that, I should be able to do the same thing. What did I do with the other one? Where'd it go? Like that. Just use the bit to put the... There we go. Kind of holding on, but my fingers just don't want to do it. We'll use the shorter thing here. I'm just going to move this down, tighten it. Okay. Barely kind of get that in there now. These plastic screws kind of suck. They don't work like they should. And they look to be like fine thread instead of just normal thread. Okay. That one goes right in. That's crazy. The other one just did not want to. There we go. All right. So both are in. Both are snug. And then now if I can just feed this back through and up, trying to keep any pressure off of it. Kind of tuck it behind some of these fan wires and whatever. And that'll keep it off the belt or from rubbing on anything. Come on, baby, you can do it. There we go. And then I'll just run that over and see about tucking it into this small little port here. That's in there. Where's my tweezer? Great. So that's connected. Now, put the reconnect that orbiter. Make sure it stays out the end stop. So, what the cable is just loose on there. I'll add a zip tie or two later to kind of hold it where I want it to be. But there are no kinks in it. It's connected where it should be, and it clears the end stop just fine. Actually, I want to move that. Just route that ribbon cable a different way slightly because like barely kissing the end stop, and I just don't want it touching it at all. But it's really tough because where the cable comes down out of the tool headboard like that is right where the end stop lives. Okay. Better. Reconnect the orbiter. All right. So that's about as good as that's going to be. And I'm sorry, folks. I know you can't see what I'm looking at. But I just can't get the camera back here. Okay. And then moving that over now, we're clearing the stuff. So nice swoopy path. Let's see what happens if we power on and try this again. Only looking for the Z and stop trigger at this point. Which means we have to go through the calibration once again, but I'll take it. All right. Just cleaning up things and stuff. Let's see what happens here. Here we go, comes alive. I hear fans going. Definitely need to run that belt tuning stuff again. Or not belt tuning, the Z tuning. It is a fly board with the Eddy Rushmere, and thanks for being here. This could not get that Eddy probe to trigger, so I swapped it with a spare one that I had. Looking at the end stops now, I can see when Y reaches. So the page is working as it should. With any luck, we'll see Eddy trigger now. No luck. Not sure why it's not triggering. So that tells me it can't be the cable. It's probably not the board either. We've swapped them both. So I really am out of ideas on how to get this thing to work. Just to be sure, I'll use what I think is a good. Just like other boards, it probably needs a calibration before it changes. maybe, but we couldn't. I don't know. I couldn't get it to trigger the in stop though. So I'll show you what we're trying to do here. If I can do home all. Is there a light? No, there's not a light on this board. Very, very basic. To the center, and then I get this error, right? So I get this error that says communication timeout during homing, which tells me that it's not picking up the Z in stop. Oh, you know what? Because I'm dumb, I put the Eddy board on upside down. Ah, it's that kind of morning, folks. That kind of morning. Let's see if I can touch the top of this thing and it triggers. No. So top or bottom of the coil doesn't matter. Still doesn't trigger. But either way, it is upside down. So I need to change that. The top and bottom look very similar. The only way that I recognized it was upside down is because I just happened to look in there and see the writing. This guy. Hey Bryce, we are homing now. However, Z is not homing because the in-stop refuses to trigger. And so I'm just going through some troubleshooting stuff, trying to figure out why. First problem is I put it on upside down. So that's a thing. But then also, it doesn't matter because it still doesn't trigger. I'm not sure why that's the case. You would need the print sheet on when home Z. It should pick up the bed. Like I shouldn't need the print sheet. If I put a tool under there, like I was using the what are those things called? The flush cutters. The flush cutters should have triggered that. There should be enough metal in there to trigger the Z. And it's not. So rather than, you know, screwing up my PEI sheet, I'd rather trigger with a tool. It's just not doing that. Not aluminum. Yeah, I'm tracking it needs steel. I got you here. I'll show you what I'm talking about. Here's my PEI sheet, right? So even if I put my PEI sheet under here, and I'll hold it here, and then I'll come over to the chrome, it's still not triggering, right? So that's what the needs a magnetic surface. The cutters might not be enough surface to trigger. Okay, but now I've got a PEI sheet. Yeah, we're going through calibration, Rushmere. I was going to start it again, but I wanted to see if it triggered at all, and it won't. And this is after we ran calibration the first time. So macros and everything are in per the fly docs here. So I did not add this stuff, okay? And I don't know that that matters because natively Calico supports Eddy Probe. So I don't really need any of this. What this script does is install a like a config file. You detect the board. What board? There are no LEDs on the Eddy Probe to be able to see. It's a plain black board with just a connection. It's the most simple Eddy Probe that you can find. Either way, so what this script does is just add in a bunch of configuration stuff and a bunch of macros like that one. So there's nothing really to do, okay? And then we get into calibration, like you're saying. I have this in my homing section already, and then we can run calibrate DD right now, and I'll show you what this does. So nothing is on, bed is not hot, things are clean. So it's a no, it's not a Big Tree Tech Eddy, it's a mellow Eddy. It looks like, for everybody, okay, so it looks like one of these. So it looks like a beacon, kind of, except it's just a PCB, so it's very thin, and it looks like this. So as you're looking at that, there is no LED or anything on the top of here. It's only the connection for the ribbon cable, so it's the most minimal Eddy probe that you're able to get. The only writing on the board is for temp, ground, and the coil itself. It uses this very tiny ribbon cable that goes up to the toolhead board, and that's it. The toolhead board does all of the other stuff. Yeah, a lot of people have never seen this. There's another, that's kind of a reason we're using it, because I had one and I need to, and I wanted to try it out. So far so good, except for this Eddy probe thing's driving me nuts. And even if I look at the config pinout, I'm over here looking at the pinout for this thing, the wiring reference. Okay. It plugs in here where the circle looks like a coil, and that comes in and it gives you the information for what you need, right? If I look at config reference for Eddy, it tells me to use GPIO 28, and that's what I'm using in my config over here. So I just have an Eddy PZ include file. Oh, look at that. So happy we do need it, because that it tells you what the sensor is for temperature. So it's going to give me an error. Temperature probe, fly Eddy probe is invalid. Makes me wonder if it needs the same files Beacon and Carto need. So Beacon and Carto are very similar in the fact that they can do beacon contact. They have an accelerometer built into them, and a temperature probe and some other things. This does not have the accelerometer. So they're not exactly the same. But all of these errors don't make any sense. Let's see, what does it say over here? Just two. So I will comment out all of these. These are just additional parameters that Calico allows you to set. To keep things clean, we'll add only what they recommend. I'm still going to have errors though, and I think that's because against my will, I'm going to have to install this stuff. Yeah, because it's not registering any of that. All right, let's do it. I'm wasting a lot of time. I don't have a ton of time today. This is the third stream this week, so roughly 7.5 hours of streaming so far. Can you link to those docs, please? Sure, I'll drop it in there. 1 sec. Copy that. Let me drop this in the chat for you all. There you go. So if you want to follow along, there you go. So we'll go to our shell script. All right. No, not that. We want this one first. this one next. It's going to clone in there to that script. Great. We'll run third command. We're going to get this someday, folks. It's only taken like 3 streams just to get it to move. And then we'll run this last one. All right, so that's the shell. It's going to ask me if I want to create a config, right? So we have 4 z-axis screws. And so I'm going to choose number 5. And it's going to say, do I want to delete the existing and recreate it? I mean, sure. What are we going to hurt at this point? Nothing works, so why not? It is not that style. And so we're done, right? And now if we go back to our page, I've already got this included in there. So just in case, we'll come over to Moonraker. And you'll see that right here is that script. Use the SSH tool to execute the following command. So if you ever change, like say, you go from, I don't know, 4 motors to 3 motors or something like that, you could run the script again and it'll update that config file for you. But that's the thing. All right, so choose 3Z to ensure printer config has a Z tilt, or 4Z to make sure it has a quad gantry level. For independent dual and Z axis, so like 3Z, and you can see the reference here. Make it go into English so that we can see what's going on. And it'll give you some, config references for what you want to do. Probably like VZBot for multi-Z. You probably do something like this, which that's not what we're getting into. So we did all that. So I'm using the V3, so I input no on this last block. And then it showed all of that and said we were complete. Okay. Next, we got to refer to XY offset calibration method. And that would be all of this to basically just find out how far away the nozzle is from the sensor. I know that I measured it and got a rough estimate the other day. And for me, the X offset is 0, so it's in line with the nozzle, but it is positive, so towards the back of Y by about 30 millimeters. And so that's just telling it where the probe is. We've done that. And here's the example, right? And then we need to calibrate, right? So safety home is already good to go. It tells us to do the calibrate DD first. But I'm still getting those errors here. What if we firmware restart? Yeah. Sensor type is invalid. Sensor pin's invalid. Temperature probe is invalid. Not sure why. Not sure why at all. And then the crazy part is if I come over here, it'll tell me that clipper is dirty. I ran into this the other day. See what I mean? So the repo is dirty for the script, even though I followed the instructions that they told me to. These files have changed. Carto is the same way with the dirty clipper, you just left it. But it's also telling me that the script that it made me install is incorrect as well. decode macro, calibrate Eddy, and compensate. Like, so this is just the shell that inserts all of the macros you need for that file. So yeah, I don't know that that is helpful. But it is, I mean, whatever. I wouldn't care that it's dirty and not updated if it didn't still throw errors, right? If it all was good, then it should just work. But if they're invalid, it's not gonna pull any. So I can't even see that probe in here. Regardless, right? So let's the important part is, does it trigger now? My guess is no, that it does not. See what I mean? So it's not triggering at all. What do? Well, I suppose we should just run the two macros again. If that does not work, then I'm gonna be done, and we'll tear into the toolhead and figure out. Well, maybe we'll use a Nighthawk or something like that, and run it that way. I think I have an extra cartographer somewhere, something that's a little more normal, and we'll go with that route. Kind of sucks because all of the connections and everything are already cut and shortened to use the mellow board. But if the mellow board doesn't work, I mean, whatever. Okay. Calibrate DD. This should home and then come back to center. We ran that as per the instructions. And then if you calibrate Eddy, I'm gonna home again and then come back to center and try to do your paper test sort of thing. All right, we'll put the bed sheet on here. Let's see, is that the smooth side? We use the smooth side because I usually don't print with that anyway. And if we jack it up, it'll be fine. Okay. I don't want to click this button a whole bunch. What I'm going to do is close that. We're going to use SD. Where'd it go? I forgot the thing already. Bed leveling. Here we go. Run the command as, here we go, test Z. Copy that, bring that over here. And I'm going to bring this down. I don't know, let's call it 20 at first. Just to get it moving quickly. And that'll save us a bunch of clicks on the mouse. One more at 20. And we'll switch over to 10s, I believe. Actually, we can do one more 20. Okay, so now we'll go with a 10. And I will do a, and I will do a 5. And then we'll run into our 1s. Let's see how close we can get this. that one is too tight. We'll go plus a 0.5. One more. And then we'll do a negative 0.1. All right, that feels good to me right there. And then we just write in here, accept. Finish out what we're doing. So we did that one here, and then save config. Let's save it. Save config and restart. Sure. And that's the weird part about this macro. It actually doesn't restart the printer or restart the firmware. But if you look at the printer config and you go to the bottom, it did record what we wanted. That said 0 on the information that just came out. I think I want to remove all this calibration. That's from earlier. Oh, it's actually like jumping up and down now. Calico does not support Eddy. You need Eddy underscore something. Eddy ng plugin. What is that? Calico. So Calico does support Eddy. Coming into config and then looking at config reference. Take you over to the page here and show you. You have probe Eddy current right here. So support for Eddy current inductive probes, you can define and then use your command reference. So that's it right there, my Eddy probe. Something I was unable to find is temperature probe. And I think part of the Mellow install process was to add support for something called a temperature probe section. But running their suggested scripts up here did not add any support for a temperature probe section, right? So again, this section right here, this one is not supported. And if I click the link for documentation, it takes me nowhere. So MN, when you say Eddy ng plugin, I don't know what you mean when you say that. You can guide me to, I don't know, a web page or something that you're talking about. I'll follow along with you, but I'm not seeing that anywhere. So I don't know, folks. We may be done here because I don't know how to proceed. I mean, if this guide was straightforward, we'd be good to go. It just doesn't work in the real world like this guide is telling us. Let's see if we can run this command again. Do that one, and then the other one is enter the configuration number suitable. Okay, so we'll say that should be number 5, like before. You want to delete and recreate? We'll say no because it's fine. And I'm not using SB 2040 V3 Pro V3. No. Cool. So we just ran the script. No changes here. It's not finding whatever that is. We can try and reboot. It's almost like the like it's not plugged in. Like the Eddy sensor is just not plugged in. So after you accepted the paper test and save config, does it home? It doesn't home. It starts to do some sort of like calibration, like distance check. I'll run it again. I'll run it again and show you. Yeah, so even restarting doesn't change the fact that it's got an invalid section. I don't know what to do about that, other than to comment it out for now. We're not going to be able to do temperature calibration or anything like that without that probe. But until I can figure out how to do that, I don't know. All right, so we calibrate DD, right? It brings it to the center. And then I'll move, turn motors off again. This bed is canted in such a way that I'm afraid I'm going to run into the bed sheet. I want to move things out of the way a little bit here. He's lined up. Okay. We did that. Now we can calibrate Eddy. Going to home. That's going to come back to center. Like that. And then it's going to try to run us through the paper test again. And if Rushmere, if you watch closely, I'll show you what happens, right? So by decreasing this a whole bunch, it says to move the bed after the DD macro before clicking the other macro. It says to make sure that the bed is level so that you don't scratch the plate, because once you click the other macro, it's going to try to move. Yeah, so looking at the, I'm looking at it too, and it says to, let's see, use the console to move the Z-axis tool head to touch the heated bed, and then continue with the prompt. Yeah, that's what I'm doing, right? Calibrate DD, use the console. Okay, I see what you're saying. Let's abort. Okay, let's try this again. So we'll calibrate DD. We'll follow it to the letter. And we did it anyway. See what we did? Scratch the shit out of that plate. Luckily, it's the ugly side. The ugly side that doesn't matter. Okay, so calibrate DD. Okay, and then it tells me to, all right, let's follow it letter by letter, right? Looking at the page, we just did the DD macro. It says use the console to move the Z-axis tool head to touch the heated bed, then continue with the prompt. Okay, so going back to the console, I'm gonna make this touch the heated bed. Moving down. So using coarse leveling, right? That right there to me is touching. I go. That is touching the bed for me right there. All right. So from there, I'm going to run the following directions. I'm going to run the calibrate Eddy macro. Okay. When I calibrate Eddy, running the macro, it lifts up, moves. I'll tell you, this part doesn't necessarily matter like how far. All it does is just decrease the number of clicks you have to make in this step here, right? It's still going to move down as far as it is. So I'm still going to have to do something like 20 clicks to make it get back to where I want it to be with the Z offset. Okay. So we can do more. And that's good for me right there. Right? We've got like barely some light drag. So now I can accept that. And then I can save config and restart. So I'm going to say reg drive current 0. All right. My wife saw the sticker. She said, "Oh, that's nice." Well, I'm happy to make her happy. All right. So we did the thing. You're actually tool heading up a printer today. I'll use this board Eddy combo and see what you get. Looked at the other printer's config and I have it running on what looks like yours, Eddy 0Z config anyway. Yeah, so we did that part, right? And as soon as I save config and restart, it's going to do this other secondary calibration where the bed starts like jumping up and down because it's trying to read from where the nozzle is to where the sensor is picking it up to really test that distance, right? But if that sensor, the Eddy sensor, is not working, the config is going to fail. I'm sorry, the calibration is going to fail. And so you'll see an error come up here in a second. As you can tell in the whatever the window, the dashboard, it is jumping up and down just a little bit here on Z, to try and measure that distance. It's doing it further and further away, so it's increasing over time until it can sense that bed. But exactly like you see, you're getting incomplete sensor data because the sensor is not sensing any metal. So regardless of how I run those macros, regardless of how I install that shell, the Eddy just doesn't work. So two things are possible. One, the toolhead board itself is broken somehow, just not working. Or two, both of the Eddy sensors I've installed are dead out of the box. It's hard to tell. Unless I switch the toolhead board, I won't know for sure which is which. But we just swapped the Eddy probe and no change. So, yeah, what do we do about it, right? That's the question. What do we do about it? Now I've seen the whole process move to another board. If I had another board, I would do that. The one I do have is built for a stealth burner, which this toolhead is not, right? So this is the other version of the same thing. The toolhead board is just shaped like a typical stealth burner board, though. So if you run a stealth burner, you could potentially use this, right? So that's it there. Same sort of deal, same layout as what you're used to, mounts the same, all that jazz, right? You can even use your fan board here as well. Not the setup we've got. Comes with a really nice over-molded cable. And there's your fan board for it. Very low profile. You can run CAN bus, 2 fans, and some RGB. All right, that's all that stuff. That's where we stole the replacement board from. I don't have another 36 version of this though. I don't believe. I mean, I'll look through the chest of parts over here, but I don't believe I have one. What I do have is this guy. I do have a cartographer. Can't you keep the fly toolhead board but use a carto? So maybe the fly toolhead board does have another position for can high and low. And I've got this cartographer here. This is an older one. And I want to say that I removed it because it didn't have the updated firmware on it. And that updated firmware was a pain in the ass to try and install. And so because there's a can high-low port on the toolhead board, I could just use this jumper cable and add this one in here. And then, you know, of course, find ground and 24 volt on the toolhead board somewhere, and then just find a can high and low somewhere. But I don't know. I got to figure out how to flash this thing. But we could certainly try. I mean, what else are we doing today? Nothing. But let's see if we can get this thing working. We can get this working, and I can just throw this on there and bypass this crappy, whatever you want to call it, probe. That would be ideal. So let's switch gears a little bit. Let's go over to cartographer page. Cardo, okay, once the downloader is installed. Boothie, I've never flashed it to update. The ROS fork of cartographer in the library. What is ROS? What firmware does it currently have, USB or CAN? I don't know. That's what I'm trying to find out. The box it's in is not the original box. This is the board I put on the Trident. This is the board that came with the Trident. I don't believe that it is. If it's USB, look at that. We can just plug it in, right? Like it's not a big deal. But I don't know. Last one all pre-installed. A dream. Yeah. I was going to use EBB and Cardo, but have a spare shit 36 with Eddy. I'll use it and see if there's an issue with the mellow file. Happy, there's got to be, man. There's something missing from the file somehow that doesn't allow that Eddy sensor to talk to the toolhead board. I don't know if that GPIO 28 pin is the wrong pin. Looking down here at the diagram, there's not a GPIO 28 pin called out anywhere on the wiring diagram. So I don't even know where they got that. If I plug it in and it shows that in LSUSB it has USB firmware. I mean, we'll try it. I'm gonna try it right now. So it's connected. I've got a blue light. Let's see, over here and make our window a little bigger. You guys can follow along with me here. I can see my blue light is on. You can see that. It's got power like it should. We'll move some of this out of the way. Maybe we'll do this and I'll learn something today on how to flash a cartographer properly. Okay, so that's on there. Make this a little bigger so you guys can see what's happening. We'll put this here. This can be that. LED is not a power LED. Yes, tracking, but it is sort of a power LED because when I plugged it in, it came on. Let me put that up here. There we go. That's about the best I can do. Okay, guys. To have like multiple screens on there. If you want to see something different, let me know. Probably go a little bigger here so you can see it. All right. I need to go not to this page, but to probably this page. Eddy current induction center. We'll go to the documentation tab, and then we'll start from the beginning. Finding the mistakes, do not hesitate to contact. Blah, blah, blah. Photos will be there. Sure. Talks about touch mode and scan mode. Scanning is going to scan the bed. Touching touches the bed. Pretty slick. We'll just walk through this as much as we can. Before you begin your journey, some things to be aware of. Hints. Sure, it gives me the guide, what the legend is. What's the difference? You can check it out. Both versions. You have received a probe. I want to say this is the one that I got. I'm trying to remember back 6-8 months ago when I built the Trident. A cartographer came in that Trident kit, and that Trident kit had a little baggie like that. So my gut tells me that it is not flashed with the correct stuff, but we'll find out. Using touch, quick checklist. Sure. Going through the hardware setup. Mounting it. Not worried about that. We'll figure that out later. Cable routing, USB. Let's see. Currently, we advise that the CAN probe is used with Big Tree Tech boards. This is due to their easy addition of a spur. When install up your CAN probe, please ensure that you add a twist. You sent the one you won to me that did not have the correct stuff. Yeah. This is due to their easy addition of, okay. Please ensure you add a twist pair. Yep, no problem. 24-volt will not work and will damage your probe beyond repair. So if I look at this board here, there's a small hand termination thing on there. And is 324, I guess. So maybe that one. Cannot measure resistance while the probe is powered on. It has to be powered on and flash with the CAN firmware, which means you're able to measure if your CAN lines are at 60. Measure them with power off and you get to 60. That means you have too many terminations. Okay. Tell me how to do what I'm trying to do. All right, we're just gonna swap over to this. All right, clone the clipper module. Let's do that. So we do copy, paste. All right. Automatically create a link to the script and place it in the clipper folder. Okay. And then we'll copy our Moonraker stuff and add that in here. I like mine in alphabetical order. On completion, save and restart. Cool. You get a repo is dirty. A soft recovery should. I'm not getting that. So see if we can recover this one. Nope. That's annoying. You need to replace the serial path or UUID. This can be found by running that for USB probes. Okay, so I probably need to connect this to the Pi then, not to a printer. And for ease of use, I may just run it on USB regardless because I don't want to even deal with any more CAN setup right now. And USB has the same functionality with a much simpler install. I'll decide later, but that's what I'm thinking right now. Okay, so no lights on the board. Plugged into the Pi though. Okay, so we just need to run that command. Where'd it go? Lost my window. There it is. See my clipper. And one CAN device, and that happens to be the SHT36. So that is not our cartographer. There's no reset button or anything like that on here. So should it not detect this board? Should it not detect the board when it's plugged in? Clone the clipper module from GitHub using that. Okay. Then need to run the install. Legacy clipper environments will need to update 3.9. The easiest way to do that depends on what firmware is on it. Okay. If can, it will not show. But it's driving me through these steps though. If can, it will not show on USB. What? See something. Which firmware should you use? This one? Please check which probe you have. I wish there was a way to tell which one it was. This is not a RPi 2040 though. It's not a V1. I feel like it's a V2. I just want to walk through steps on how to. Does it have an ADXL written on it? So it looks like. Yeah, it does right there. So maybe a V2 with input shaper, because I feel like the V3, it doesn't have this extra daughter board. They're like flatter. I remember them looking different. Let's try to update firmware, I guess. I've got Catapult installed. See if we can do this. V3 still has the board. Yeah, but V3 looks different though. So I feel like V3, at least the one I got, like it's flush. I don't know, I could be wrong. It's been a while. Your V3 looks like this. Had can pre-flash. Yeah, I don't think this one does. If you ordered a USB flash. It doesn't. Okay. All right. So let's just do the USB catapult method here. I'm guessing it is on USB. So we'll see how this goes. So plug it in via USB SSH into this. All right, let me get you guys back over to that window. And then we'll see. So that. Okay. Let's see if we can find a device. Number 1. No devices containing cartographer or catapult found. Well, let's see number 2 then. Again, same deal. Let's run that one more time. I want to find a device. Not finding anything. So let's see if it is a hand device. Find that one. Let's see, number 3. No CAN devices found. So does it not have any firmware whatsoever? I'm so confused. I suspect it has CAN in it. You cannot find a CAN device with a USB cable. Install the downloader. What downloader? All right, let's go back to Chrome. Let me read some more here. Find your device. Hit trick to help over YouTube chat. Yeah, I agree. It's not easy reading comments and trying to understand what you're telling me, and then also trying to communicate from your side to me is difficult too. I get that. Yeah, so it should find it though. So select catapult USB menu, and then you find your device, which we did. And then it should either show, if it's flashed USB, it should show a USB device. If it is flash CAN, it should find a CAN device. So on the CAN bus flash side, if I'm over here, I would do the same thing. And then I would find my device. Find the device part 2. So it looks like you either type in the number or query. So the cable should be able to do both, CAN and USB. And then you download the matching firmware, and then you flash, and you should be done. Let's try DFU then. DFU mode should be used to flash if you don't have access to CAN in order to change from CAN to USB, or if some reason Catapult isn't available. Okay, so we'll do it this way then. I got a probe, I got some stuff going on. Enter DFU mode. Maybe that's why we couldn't find it, because it's not in DFU mode. No LEDs will be on when in DFU mode. If the blue LED is lit, even intermittently, the device is in runtime, and this isn't what we want. Continue touching those pads till it works. What? Simple in theory, but a bit more fiddly with the cartographer plugged in via USB. Short the 2 pads of the boot 0. Okay, so that should be on the bottom of this board. Something on there to hold that cable. So on the bottom of this board, I want to short the ones on the right. And then briefly short the pads on the left. This will put the device in DFU mode. Okay. Let's use that to sort of hold it while maybe not blocking your views. Trying not to. So how do I do this? Grab a chair, get some tweezers out, see if I can make this happen. Has anyone done this process before where you're like flashing with pads? I so wish I had another cartographer right now, I'll tell you. One that is not needing a flash. Used a couple of cocktail sticks. Cocktail sticks. What are those, conductive? I'm used to them being wood. Oh, there's a Pad Pusher 3000 tool over here. Not watching a video. What's this Pad Pusher about? Actually installing Carto today. Nice, dude. Well, this Pad Pusher 3000, that link, it's an STL that is sort of like a cover. It snaps on the bottom of this thing, and there are cutouts just for those pins. All right, so let's see if I can do this. I've got these 2 angled tweezers here. I'm going to attempt to, touch them both at the same time. We'll see what happens. Wife just got home. I can hear the radio going. All right, so looking at boot 0, I need something under here. Oh. All right, so there is boot 0. To be shorted with these tweezers. I feel like these things are not flat or something. I'm gonna modify them with this. They're kind of beat up. Tweezers are old. I want to reshape them into being flat. That should help. Okay, so there's that. And we'll see if this is. Not going to get any signal. Should work. All right, going back to our Chrome tab, it tells us it will loop the LSUSB to see if it's in if run the script. This one here, LSUSB. And automate it using the script below. This one. Oh, I see. Okay, I got your script thing going. You can now bridge boot 0 pins while plugging a cartographer via USB at the same time. Okay, so let's try that. If I undo this, with the other ones here, and then somehow I can hold these pins while plugging in. DFU device found. Hey, we did it, guys. We did it. That script is so helpful. Thanks for that, Rushmere. I'll show you what I see right now. So thanks to Rushmere, told me to run the script. So I did that, right? And then we followed this. So you can now run the bridge. You can now bridge the boot 0 pins while plugging in the cartographer via USB at the same time. Press any key to stop. So, and then we got DFU device found. Press any key to return the name. That is super helpful because that was not fun to try to do 2 of those at the same time. So had we scrolled down to making it easier, option number 2, why would that not be number 1? Oh man. Okay. And so now we're in DFU mode, and LSUSB should show what we want. Press any key to return to the menu. Success, DFU device found. Enter to continue. We're going to do number 1. We're going to find the device. Okay, so what are we doing now? Let's see, following directions. On the next screen, it will attempt to find your device. What? These instructions are a little weird. We'll loop for 30 seconds. If you can do this, but okay, fine. What? Doesn't tell me what option they selected though. DFU firmware menu. Number 1. Yeah, so if I select number 1, right? That's my device, and then I'm just selecting number 2. Okay, so find firmware, so number 2. Downloading whatever firmware. Okay. I think we want to do CAN bus, so that way I can use a very short cable. So what now? I think we're going to do number 5.1. That's the most newest one. And we should probably do this 1 million right here. So it looks like option 8. Option 5 is 5.0. Option 8 is 5.1. 5.1, I think, allows touch mode. So I think option 8 is what I want. That's the newest firmware. So now we have the firmware, and number 4 should flash that. Okay, that's the device. That's what we're going to flash. Can 1 million, version 5.1. Yes is number 1. And it looks like the picture down here. Those instructions on their site could use a little help. Press enter to continue. Okay, file downloaded successfully. Transitioning to that. Resetting USB switch back to runtime mode. Press enter to continue. Firmware flash successfully to device. Press any key and you may be asked for your password in order to restart Flipper. Please make sure you're not printing. Okay. The Seaboard docs you sent me. Yeah, I agree, Boothie. Those docs were a little better. I was just trying to go to the source on this one because Seaboard doesn't. I don't remember exactly, but I don't know if they cover this as in depth. Hey, Jason. Going to a volunteer event. Yeah, we're still fighting with firmware over here because we should now get a serial address because Z is not working for us. So we're getting away from the mellow crap that doesn't work, and we're swapping to a cartographer. If you flashed for CAN bus, unplug cartographer and plug in via CAN bus. You flash for USB power cycle. Should now get a serial address. I don't think I'm gonna get a. Yeah. All right, so let's find this again. Let's go back to software config. Install maybe. So we did all that stuff. We did the updates. Here we go. Finding the serial or UUID. You need to swap the CAN wiring. I do. Let me power down the machine. I'm gonna have to use those jumper pins to find an available 5-volt pin. Because looking at these docs here, we go back to this. That's not even the right one. This one. Yeah, so the only 5-volt I get is on the end stop here. I think that's the only one I have free. Yeah. So I need to have one cable. I need one cable with 5-volt. I need another one with ground. My ground on that pin, at least, is being used. So I will have to use the. I'll have to use this probe ground below it, which is a different connection, because that's what the orbiter is plugged into, the orbiter sensor. And for CAN high and low, I can use these center pins there. So cool. We get to do a little bit of wiring. I'm gonna make it temporary. The reason I need to change 2 of these is because they already have JST connections. on the oh man, on the toolhead board. So 2 of these will need to have crimps on. The other 2 I can leave as is and just put those into the toolhead board to make sure we're good to go. But I do need to power down first. So we'll do that. Post. Good. Okay. While that's happening, I'm gonna put all this crap back. We're gonna see if we can get this thing to go in the next 20 minutes. Otherwise, I need to call the stream. So we'll see about moving and more worky, less talky. How about that? Okay. I'll probably be going back and forth to the printer to verify that I'm making the right choice on connections, but it should be pretty simple. So that's off. We can take that wiring out of there. Just keep this on the that. We'll get it, guys. We'll get it. This is sometimes how it goes. This is real life dealing with 3D printer builds. Things don't work like you want them to, or you get crap hardware. All right, so to make this happen, I'm going to cut these off. Do the same with this ground wire here. All right, and just to be sure, I'm going to verify that when this connects, that things are what they should be on the board. So it looks like ground to the far, what would be the far right, data plus. So can high is yellow. That makes sense to me. High in the sky, yellow like the sun. White is can low, and then red is 5 volt, and that's just going with the silk screening on the bottom of the board. So that makes sense. Put these 2 back. I'm gonna leave it long. I'll repin these. Keep these a little bit shorter later. I just want to see if it works for now. And yeah, that means we lose a crimp or 2, but that's okay. And so we said we're going to pull 5 volt from the in-stop pin, and that would be these smaller connections here. So you've got 2 sizes of JSTs. I've got this smaller size here, this 2.0, and then I have this 2.5 connection on the board. And for the power wire, the 5 volt, we need the 2.0, the small one. And so that is these here. I only have a web browser covering the screen. Oh, I'm so sorry. Damn, how about that? Yeah, if I forget to do a thing, yell at me in chat. We'll make it right. And crimpers here. Rushmere, I appreciate you, man. You've been super helpful today. I'm getting our 5 volt from smaller ones, so we'll do the 2.0 connection on the 5 volt line. If you chose to use a different pin on your toolhead board, you could totally put this anywhere you want. The way that I have mine set up, because we're adding this on after the fact, I probably would have chosen different pins for my XN stop. Right now it's sort of split. And then we used a bigger, this other one is JST 2.5 for the ground. Let me double check. Should be, yeah, ground. there is that. And there's already connections over there, so we'll just plug those in at the tool headboard. I'll spin the printer around. Hopefully you'll be able to get some sort of look at it, but my hands are going to be in the way, and chances are you're not going to be able to see what's going on. But we'll try. Let me flip over there. Turn this around, and then I can flip the camera as well. Okay. Now let's see where that camera is. Let me get you a close-up shot. So you get this big purple thing in the way. Let's remove that. I need to move that anyway to make my life easy. Take that down. Go. Hang that. How do I know? Because I did this earlier today. Right now you should be able to get inside and see that tool headboard a little bit better. One thing I need to do though is move the bed down so I can remove the old crappy Eddy probe that's on there that pissed me off so bad today. You know, when you get hardware, you sort of want it to work, and when it doesn't, it's the most frustrating thing in the world because, like, how do you send it back to China? That's not going to happen. Is a cartographer going to fit your current tool head mounting? Yes, it should. So technically the mount that's on there right now is labeled beacon/cartographer carriage. The Mellow board had the same mounting pattern as the beacon cartographer stuff. We'll keep it right there. You can kind of see. So the Mellow one is billed as having a similar mounting pattern. So should fit. And I say should because the way that this build is going, this has been the most frustrating build that I've done in a while. Thought the box turtle was pretty frustrating as well, but this one has proven to overtake. I feel like it's been, I don't know, upwards of 50 hours struggling through the process on this guy. I'm going to use these plastic screws again though. That's pretty nice. I didn't even consider that as an option before. Now that I know that M3 screws can be plastic, especially when you're trying to avoid any metal near the cartographer, actually pretty nice. Pull this cable out of here. Okay, 2 stupid probes. So I've got my stuff set up here. I'm going to pull ground off of this connector, so this large JST 2.5 connector, and then my smaller 2.0 connector. That's going to give me my 5 volts. Because this one is in the rear, we're going to do the 5 volt line in first. It's going to be the red one here. And again, I'm leaving these long on purpose. Probably going to just run everything this way up here and connect the cartographer at the bottom like that. I'm trying to find a better way to really do it, but there's not one. There's just not. And there's some tie down points or whatever. I'll have to take that tool head off, run wiring up sort of the center of the carriage, and kind of come over and around. So another reason I don't want to trim too much of the tool head board off. Let's see about that might help us out. See, this one's a little tougher to get upside down because the tool head board prevents you from doing that. It'll look at a place. The same mounting pattern, Rushmere, as the last one. And these will come around the front here and connect at the back. There are a couple tie down points on the side of the thing, and it doesn't matter that it touches on the belt because the belt doesn't move back and forth. The belt is static. It only moves over here at the pulley. So I'm not worried about rubbing of the belts. What I would be worried about is rubbing across the rail or the extrusion. Just do these one at a time. We've already removed that connection and share the right orientation. Using that outside 5-volt pin. Just off screen, I've got the wiring diagram printed out, and that is my 5-volt. I do remember specifically them calling out that it is a 5-volt. That one, and then our ground is going to come to this other connection over here where our runout sensor is currently located. And I've got one open spot next to the yellow wire here. That one is ground. So adding ground, that, and connect that back up to the BL touch port. If I did not have the filament runout sensor on here, the wiring would be a little bit cleaner in this area. And then we had to add the in stop, so that's stealing some of the ground ports and signal ports up here as well. So there's our two power and ground wires. Then we have our can high and low. Looking at the board, can high should be my rightmost on this upper connector here. And earlier we said that's yellow, like high in the sky. There. And then this should be low. So that do it on the left. Oh, it's so small it doesn't want to. That's funny. These black single pin connections, like jumper style, they're too big for the connecting. Just a little muscle on it and it'll go on. There you go. So we do have the connections for that. Really hard to see. I do apologize. It's just the way that the camera's set up. We've got our two connections up top. Now, go back to Chrome. Not this one. This one. We should be able to find a serial ID by powering on the machine. Plug that back in. Power's on. See lights on the board. And if I go to my terminal, see if we can find the CAN bus. There it is. So there's the UUID. This one right here. So still got Clipper on there, so we need to flash it with Calico and put it in here. But that's cool. We got some progress. Okay. We got the UUID. Let's go over to Clipper config. So it wants us to do an MCU scanner thing. I'm going to go into this here and just start adding some stuff. So we'll add another up under MCU. We can add probably here. We'll do scanner, and then it'll have a CAN bus UUID of whatever that is, and we'll comment this out. But I definitely wanted to save that in here before I forgot. Save and restart that one. Okay, now we can get the rest of this stuff. MCU. Okay, we named it wrong. MCU. Do that. And then, okay, over here, we're going to add scanner, add in all of this stuff. And I feel like I want to put that down in like the probe area, maybe. Down here somewhere. I don't know if there's a good place, but we'll put it right here. Why not? It's gonna be a lot. I'll have to change it, but that bed mesh though needs to move that out of here. Bed mesh comes down here. What happened to the bed mesh? There it is. Right here. And we can comment out all this. All right. This should be 150 and 150 because that's going to be the center. Speed's fine. Horizontal move is fine. Mesh min, so I think that's fine. Mesh max, no. All right, let's make it 35 and 35, and then if I take 300 minus 35, that should give us a 265 by 265. Row count 30, sure, whatever, sure. What else? And then you have your temperature for your scanner. Put all these in the same place. Down here at the bottom. Chamber RPod. Put this one here. All right, scanner section needs to be above any other reference to either a cartographer scanner or probe. Yeah, we have it at the top. So duplicate chip name probe. What? We have a duplicate chip name. Oh, because I need to probably remove the other stuff. We need to comment all that out. That's why. And then we have MCU scanner, just like so. Try that. Sensor type in section probe Eddy, current fly Eddy probe must be specified. Oh, Moonraker. that. Okay, ADXL, so we need all of this stuff here. Accelerometer, yeah. So all of this is now that. This is going to be in the center, so here and here. Cool. If that fixes anything. Sensor type and section probe eddy current fly. Eddy probe must be specified. Where is that coming from? Let's search. Oh, all of this, probably. Yep. Some extra stuff at the bottom. Okay. Now we need to do this. So I think that's going to be the same. To be under safe home, to be the same stuff. Safe home 150, 300. And yeah. You also need to update to involve removing or commenting out your position in stop. Homing retract must also be set to 0. Okay. So position in stop is that. Homing retract, I don't have anything set. Good there. Homing retract. And we can write it like that. So it's explicit and be 0. We now need to ensure that you update your ZTilt or QGL or something. We'll be checking these during the calibration phase. You need to ensure that you have a suitable bed mesh section. You can find that over here. Sure. I feel like what I had is fine because we were planning to use a different probe that functioned in the same way. So really no need to update or change the bed mesh that we had. Calibration can be done hot or cold. If you want to use Cartographer for auto Z offset, you will need to follow any extra touch-specific instructions. Okay, so let's see about spinning this. Put things back to where they were. I'm actually kind of surprised that that CAN bus setup worked on the first go. Like just going through the tool headboard like that instead of like an actual CAN cable. Usually that's not the case. Let me turn this around and we'll see if we can get a shot of the printer. Come on, you. This stupid power cable likes to catch on the bottom of the toolbox, like the corner. There it goes. Okay, now see where we're at, and then if we can get this thing to move at home, I will be happy, and I can call it for the day. There's the tool head. All right, don't mind that. That's just the coating. So these cables will be fine. Let's just kind of tuck these out of the way a little bit here. This should not impact what we're trying to do today. Just need it to home. You can't beat the Cartographer setup in Canvas. I agree, Robert. I had success before. Again, I thought that the mellow stuff was going to be good Only one way to find out. Turns out I am not successful with that. A couple of cartographers now, they work fine. We've got a couple beacons as well. Those are even easier and simpler to set up. We need to try some homing. All right, so we'll go to touch mode, copy, save and restart. I think first, just install the Carto via a Nighthawk 36, very easy install. Make sure to run that command for touch. Yep, tracking. I want to see in stop because that's what we were running into. Is like I had 0, so Z is triggered, which means we need to invert Z. Or is it supposed to be triggered? Running 8 cartographers, holy crap! All with 36 in Cambridge, and 2 have 15. Wow. Yeah, I think I'm definitely on the cartographer train. Unfortunately, I only have the 3. I've got 2 running, and then the one that we're doing right now. But I've got a couple beacons as well. So I've got this one. This is a low-profile beacon. A Rev something. I don't remember. And then I've got this other one. This is the one that, this is a Rev H that I've got. You have 6 cart CNC mounts. The Viper wires cannot use the included mount. Wow. Yeah, so 3 beacons in the drawer over here. That was my last cartographer. I sent one off to Boothie for his use. Spell check. The idea is coming through. Yeah, I got what you're saying. You really like your cartographer. Yeah, this is the note I was looking for. At this point, you might notice that your Z and stop is triggered. This is normal and will be resolved once you run the next command. So this is where we're going to start. So we're going to be in touch mode. Come on, baby, I need some success here. I know we're over a little bit, and that's because I'm just on a roll. I want to get this kind of done. Save, config, and restart. Standard mode, touch. Yeah, Robert, did you notice that they have like colored cartographers? So real quick, taking a side shortcut here. Coming over here to cartographer and going back to the beginning of this. They have colored ones now. So you can get colored CNC mounts. And then your cartographer as well can be colorful. Where'd it go? Oh, I guess they don't have them anymore. You see how the colors are just running basic black? Black goes with everything. I like that they have this Nighthawk cable to make it super easy to plug in. You can get the EBB36 one if you like. I guess they don't have colorful ones anymore. So these CNC mounts, I need to pick one of these up for this build and swap it out. Probably do a, I guess a silver. Probably sold out. Yeah, maybe. I mean, but it's not even listed, right? So, either way, I do like that they're trying to do some stuff. Cool. So now we just need to get rid of that crap. Let's home XY. So home XY here. We'll do some wire management on that thing later. And then on the calibration, it tells me to go to the center of the bed. So G0, X150, Y150. Send it. It's roughly the center of the bed. And then next, we're going to do start the calibration process using the manual procedure. So there's a command, copying, and pasting, send, bed drop. And then we get the same sort of window that we had before when we were testing Z. And then we lower the bed as much as we need to using paper as a guide. So there's my sticky note that we've been using all day, and we'll decrease. Slow going when you use the manual probe window like that. I think the test Z way that we used to do it before this GUI was installed, a little quicker because you can add, you know, increments of whatever you want. Move the bed down. Robert, you're running 8 cartographers on what machines? I know you have one of these. I know you have an Inertia Cube. Do you have a Micron? You're using it on a Micron? I've got mine on a Micron, but I need to rebuild it. It works fine. I just know that there are updated parts, like a Rev, what do they call it? An R1 Micron, and I want to build that. I've printed all the parts already. I just really need to buckle down and get some time to tear it apart, find a system to keep track of things, and stay organized, and then I can start rebuilding. 2 F0s, 2 2.4s, 2 Viper wires, a minion, and an i3. I've never seen it on a minion. I may need to pick your brain on that one. I need to rebuild the minion as well. I'll be honest. It's been languishing. F0 is a V0 rebuilt to have a flying gantry and a stationary bed. Tracking. Yeah, I'm familiar with the printers for ants projects, most of them at least. Yeah, this is just a little bit slow going, trying to get it. So it is a Pico B2.4. I like that. They should have called it Pico. So I'm gonna accept that there. There should be enough squish. So it says accept and then save config. Scanner calibrated, which is great. I'm gonna show you what I'm seeing over here. So we accepted, and then we got the save config command after a few seconds. So it looks like a roughly 10 seconds to wait. And then it calibrated at ambient temps. Save config, it's going to add all of this stuff to the printer config at the bottom. Pico de Gallo. What's up, Lego Therapy? No, we're talking about Pico meaning tiny. Bro, it's been a rough couple of streams, like making like 1 foot of progress and then like having to backpedal like 10 steps. Today, though, looks like we're finally getting there. We had some pretty crap hardware that was billed as being good, and it didn't work as advertised. Lesson learned. Okay, so now save config with and do a G28. It should home all. Gonna be ready on the button regardless. Pikachu. And it worked. That's awesome. That is awesome. Okay, now it says you can test the accuracy of the scanner coil by running probe accuracy. We'll run that. Shazbot, it works. I know. It works mechanically. Yes. Still doesn't print though. We need to get there. I was hoping to get there today. Had we not had to replace the entire freaking thing after fighting with it. But somehow, you know, them's the breaks. Welcome to my life. Normally all of this kind of stuff is hidden from you all because I had not streamed before, but these kinds of issues normally come up and you have to work through them and figure it out. But looks pretty good right now. So it's just doing whatever its calibration stuff. Crazy cool colors. Appreciate it. It's a sparkle grape is the name. And to be honest with you, the camera, it is brighter in the camera than it is in real life. That purple should be just probably 2 or 3 shades darker, more of a, I don't know, darker purple with some sparkle, and then the blue is pretty accurate. The orange though looks more red in the camera. It is more neon in real life. You've only been fighting with this printer a few weeks. I'm going on 2 years. A few weeks. This is stream number 8. So it's been like 8 weeks on this printer. Crazy. 8 weeks. And this is the 3rd week just trying to, or sorry, the 3rd stream trying to get it to move. So this is 10 hours in and we finally got Z to home after 10 hours of total stream time. Wild. Now some of that stuff was because we had a Raspberry Pi die and couldn't figure out how to, we had a Raspberry Pi die, we had a U2C die. Yeah, I got you. 8 weeks versus 104. I got it. It's just painful when you're trying to stream it, and you know it just continues to fail and it doesn't really work. Because then you start to look like you don't know what you're doing, and that's not always true. I sort of know what I'm doing. Okay, we got our probe results back, and our standard deviation is super small. What's next? This will not touch the bed. It will use scanner to measure the accuracy of the probe coil. Okay. You can also measure the backlash of your Z-axis by doing this. Make use of that. You will get the results starting with that. Take a note of the delta, locate the section mark. Okay, so let's do some of that. Oh, moving up and down. Target's going to be just shy of 2 millimeters. You have no clue what you're doing? I don't know. You build Lego pretty well. I'm thinking like just moving some of this stuff around on screen here. What is this one? Come over here. And this one. Make that a touch bigger so you guys can see that. Luckily, I don't have to work. Or tomorrow. Or, yeah, today. Ah, my brain is fried. Luckily, you don't have to work today. We're over the 3-hour mark. Take it till you make it. Yeah, you're not wrong. Not wrong. So I suppose it is measuring some backlash. So the delta is 0.01 from up and down. And then looking at what it tells me, this in this line will be a measurement called delta. Take note of the value, locate this configuration, backlash compensation, and we're going to copy that delta into it. That delta is this guy here. Just put that into the config. I'm going to get rid of all this old stuff here. Up top with our information, this is your backlash compensation. Paste that right there. Smash that like 17 watching, should be 17 likes. I'm seeing nine watching. Yeah, I'm seeing 9 watching, but there's 17. Hit it up. I knew it was a good idea to do this compensation test at all 4 corners, and then again at the middle. Your printer will belted Z and the values in each corner heavily deviate. We need to ensure your probe is above all these things. You should in your console navigate to each point to ensure that your probe is not hanging off of the edge. You can do G0. Now run a bed mesh calibrate. Advise doing quad gantry level before. Now you're seeing 20? Huh. That's awesome. If we got 20 here, that's awesome. I'm only seeing 9 where I'm looking at though. Or actually 18. You're right. I'm seeing 18. If I open up the actual live window, I'm seeing 18. Either way, we got the cartographer set up finally. Oh my gosh, finally. I think we need to make sure it can QGL. So let's see what this macro does. What gantry level? Where are you? This one here. Oh, must home first. Okay. Let's home all. Bed is relatively level there, so I'm not afraid of crushing anything. That's sort of the benefit of having 4 different z-axes is you can't get too out of level like you could on a 3-axis. I mean, you can get unlevel enough to do something like that, but so that's a little bit off the bed there. We're gonna have to maybe adjust that point, bring it negative in Y a little bit because there's no trigger there. So in our config, I'm going to come down to our quad gantry level section here, and my points, 25 was fine because the cartographer hangs out the back. Floppy hot dog. Yeah, you should click the link. Go check out my floppy hot dog model. I only made it because not Clown Hammer, but Bearded Printer would not make a floppy hot dog for me. I think I'm gonna make this 250. And then over here, looks like 280 Onyx will be fine. And then this needs to be 250. This can be 280 Onyx. Should these be 20 is the question. Save and reset. Did you measure the Y offset of the cart OTG, the nozzle? I think you meant off the nozzle. I did not. I probably should. Thank you for that reminder. It is definitely not 15. So let me undo that. Thanks, Robert, for the catch. Where'd it go? Where did it go? There it is. So we can do 3 on these. All right. So here, I want to say it's about 30 from what I measured. I can do another quick measurement on that. I would say, yeah, I would say 30 is where I'm at. Maybe 29, but again, when you're measuring with a ruler, it's kind of hard to tell unless you can get your face under there. So I'll jump in CAD and measure it out in CAD later. 30 is going to work for us today. All. Okay, so there's that, and then we should be able to plug the entry level. That triggered. Saw the blue light come on. Over here. Triggered, no. Maybe just a little bit low in that back corner. A little bit too low to make a difference. What we can do is try to push that corner up. If I do motors off, and then we can raise this corner just a little bit. And so I can see the blue light come on. If I see that blue light trigger, I will know. I'm not seeing it come on at all. Huh. Let's just place it there. I'm not seeing it trigger anything. There it goes. Up there. Right there. It triggers. We're just doing a rough leveling manually here. This one is too close. Bringing that down so it does not trigger. Same in this corner here, that's too close. Bringing that down. Okay, that should be locked into everything we need it to be. Okay. That should be good. I moved the head manually and adjust each corner with the blue light, then home all. Yep. I was playing it risky. I'll be honest. And we just did the manual procedure that you do, Robert. Normally I would do that. I'm rushing a little bit, I'll be honest with you. All right. Manually moved. Things are homing again. Back to center. Home center. There it is. And QGL. Got it. Move to the back. I feel like it does hang off the back quite a bit. So maybe instead of 275 on Y, yeah, because that did not work for that one. So I think I do need to move the things forward. You get it. You have cornrow furrows in your PEI from that and a couple other risky things. Yeah, so this one still has the protective sticker, and I used the smooth PEI side versus the texture side, because if I jack up the smooth PEI side, I don't really print with that anyway. And if I were to use it and I gouged it, you can replace that. You can't replace the textured side, which is my preferred surface. I am going to need to move those forward though, for real. Yeah, the smoothest I have is that like, what's it called? The BQ Glacier sheet. I've got that on the H2D and on the X1 Carbon. And it's more of like a matte satin type thing. It's not a glass setup. Smooth PI, I just have so much trouble trying to get it to stick, or you got to use glue or hairspray or something, and that comes off in the print, and that's nothing that I want to deal with. All right, so these points in Y are just going too far back. So front corner, I'm still going to call it 250 and move that forward. 275 is fine, I think. Or should we actually, we should probably make our Y-axis a little bigger instead of doing it this way. So our end stop for Y. Rushmere commented you don't need to recalibrate. Oh, you need to recalibrate later with the textured side up, don't forget. I would if I chose not to use touch. If I use touch, then it is what it is. I'm not sure which one I'm going to use. If I use touch, I can use any surface I want without recalibrating. If I use scanner, then it should. You will have to do that. You did, and then you took it out. Like I said, I usually print on the same surface. I don't swap surfaces like that to get different textures on bottoms of prints. So once I flip it over to use PEI, that's what I'm going to use. I mean, it's in touch mode right now. I may just use touch mode. Haven't decided. I use touch mode on the Trident. I need to adjust my Y. So my Y is at 300. It probably goes a little more than that for my end stop. Well, not technically true. PEI sheet being softer can throw the touch calibration off. Yes, but then when you add your Z offset, whatever it touches, it will adjust for in the Z offset. If I touch on PEI that's textured, I could end up in a high spot or a low spot or anything like that. So maybe scanner is better for PEI that's textured, and probably maybe better for smooth to use touch. I don't know. Like I said, I haven't decided. I got to think through that. So I feel like my end stop is more than my bed. So my end stop, let's call it 310. It's probably also the max here for Y, because the scanner is going off the bed, and that's why it's not registering at the back. And I think 10 is enough to put it on the bed. If not, we'll find out here in a couple minutes. All right, see you, Lego Therapy. Thanks for showing up, man. I appreciate it. You always try to make it. That's some a little bit of rattling. I think it's from these fans. All right, let's see if we can plug entry level now. Is that one? That's much more on the bed now. That's good. That triggered. That triggered. Yeah, so we just needed to adjust the Y. Seemed like it was going too far off the Y. Okay, so that one worked. Boys and girls, has been a journey. I feel so much better right now. Now that we have things moving and we're leveling, a little bit of wire cleanup to do, that's fine. A little bit of double checking things to make sure we're good. We can throw some panels on this bad Johnny here pretty soon. Oh, one thing I did yesterday was when I was figuring out the fans and why they wouldn't turn on. Turns out they were swapped. But again, we couldn't find a pinout for the fan ports on the board. So for posterity, on the Corvus G board, if you're going to use that, your fan positive is on the right side of the board towards your Z motors. Don't count your chickens when they have not hatched. It is looking promising. Robert, I have to be confident and I have to be counting a few chickens, because had you been here for most of the rest of the stream, and maybe you were and just lurking or whatever, it has been nothing but issues. We got through mechanical assembly just fine. That's what I'm good at, right? But on this firmware side, holy crap. Dead U2C, which I've never seen. Just would not connect. After we got that sorted out, Pi died. That was a pain in the ass to diagnose. Not to mention, off stream, before the Pi died, I flashed 2 separate Pis, 2 separate SD cards, multiple times over 6 hours, could not figure out how to do Wi-Fi. That was its own issue. Now we're running into, hardware on the toolhead board now. All of those issues have taken me days. I mean, roughly just in time between all the troubleshooting, all of the changing of parts, reprinting parts, all the things alone, just in troubleshooting, maybe 20 hours, 30 hours of troubleshooting alone. And now we've got Z-axis problems here. What are we saying? So the tolerance is exceeded, averaging 8. Nothing good is easy. I hear you though. Full understand. Oh, I agree. I don't mind like straightforward challenges, but these challenges on this build I've never seen before on any other build. There are 15 hand-built machines over there, custom machines over there. I've never had a Pi die. I've never had hardware not work. I mean, I've had connections sort of backwards, and there's some firmware stuff to figure out, but I've never run into like hardware issues like that. Too many retries. What is going on here? Our Z, what is happening? All right, so are these just not tight? Like, what is? Not sure what's going on with that. So let's tighten down a few of these here. I think maybe these are just a bit loose. These Z screws. We'll get out the fake Knipex. Actually, I do have a, you will have 2 opposite corners that are higher than the other 2. You can find it by disabling the steppers and then manually move the lead. I will have 2 opposite corners that are higher than the other 2. How do I fix it? All right, motors are disabled. They look pretty even all the way across. And looking at the numbers, it looks like it'll tell me what it is. So it looks like Z Z2 and Z3. Yeah, Z3 is like way high. So it's this front right stepper here is just way too low. You have a 0.06 deviation max unless you get under that value. Yeah, I'm tracking that. I'm just trying to figure out how to fix it. So again, I'm looking at Chrome here. Looking at our 4 steppers. These 3 seem to be pretty close, right? They're 0.01 apart max. This last one, stepper 3, is negative. So it's like too high by a lot. And so I think maybe it's just loose on the coupler side. Trying to get in the machine and snug that up a little bit there. And we'll run it again. I'm going to leave it with you. I have to run. Well, it's all good. Thanks, Robert. I appreciate it, man. You've been helpful, and Rushmere has been very helpful as well. Thank you, guys. Booth even had some good suggestions today. So appreciate you all for being here. I'm going to give this maybe like a minute or 2 more, see if we can get this thing leveled. And then if so, we'll go ahead and call the stream. I am about 45 minutes over what I normally like to do. But see you, Robert. Thanks for hanging out. There's a lot more tweaking and tuning I need to do on this thing to actually be happy with it. DM on Discord, let you know how it goes. I will. Thanks. I will definitely do that. It looks like we might pass this time. It's moving a lot more. We're not adjusting. So I think maybe that front left lead screw was just a little low. And so now, scanning corners, we're much closer. A little bit of an adjustment there. Tolerance on that one was 0.029. So we're getting there. I think maybe the just the couplings were a little bit loose. Range on that one was 0.019, so we're decreasing. That's good. Just realize this front corner here is sort of covered up. I don't know, folks. I've never seen it go this many times before. We might be in trouble here. It'll be something I troubleshoot over. So the range on it is definitely decreasing. So it's improving as it goes. It's just not making enough of a change to happen fast enough. And with only 5 probe points or 5 rounds going, it ends up finally on number 5 here, you can see we got within the range. So that's a success. Robert left just in time. I think maybe Robert was the snake, because now we're good to go. That's funny. Cool. So we've done all that stuff, and it says you can now run a. Should we go for a QGL? You can now run a bed mesh calibration. So bed mesh calibrate. We just did the slide gantry level, so let's do a bed mesh calibrate and see what happens. So far, so good. So note to self, use a cartographer and not whatever else sort of thing they want you to use here. Yeah, for sure going to need to shorten up the wiring on the cartographer a little bit. Just the way that it, yeah, I mean, it's not a problem. It just kind of bumps into the XY joiner on this side. That movement with having those kind of floppity like that can cause connection issues down the road. And that's something that would be very difficult to diagnose. Hearing some vibration in the tool head when it changes direction, like as it comes forward. Definitely coming from the tool head though. Cool. So a success. Save to default. Cool. Save config. Yes. And then I also know that in here, in the config, there is a step for. I saw that, Boothie. Thank you for the CAD. I'll check it out. I know that we had something in here for a default. Like a bed type or something. I think it was under one of these danger clipper calico type things. Whatchamahoots. Yeah, I don't remember. I commented it out because it was throwing an error, and then I forgot to put it back in. So anyway, let's check out what the bed mesh looks like real fast, and then we'll call it. Let's load that one. Look at that. There's a huge hole in the middle. So it's high in the front and the back, and then low down the middle. But the range is 0.3, quite a lot. Quite a lot. I wonder if that's from like the magnet or whatever. So maybe we smooth out the magnet a touch, see what happens. There's some things we can do. All right. If you're not using touch, you should now continue with this guide. So I will probably use scan mode and go through all of this stuff. Scan mode first print. Different. Fortunately, the way it worked, using more than just the default model, you will have to load whichever model you want to make the adjustment to. You do this using this command, replacing the name hot with whatever you want. Okay. Cartographer to scanner. Time to update to scanner. Scanner is the touch one, yeah? Okay, then we'll calibrate cartographer calibrate. I'll just follow you to touch or scan guide. Okay, so I'm gonna get through all this kind of stuff throughout the day. I need to go eat lunch and do some other stuff around the house first. If I make it back out here and can play with this thing a little bit later, I will do so. And then hopefully next week we can do an update. We'll actually do hopefully a first. Okay. Thanks for hanging in there. It's been a wild week. 3 streams in a week, and now we've got things finally moving. So I'm gonna go ahead and wrap up the stream on a good note while we have our ability to make things move like it should be, and we'll get a first print out over the next stream. Okay. I'm back to work this week, so no midday streams. We're gonna do Sunday as normal, roughly same time as today. Okay. Look out for the notification on YouTube. Thanks to all of you for being here. Enjoy the rest of your Sunday, however much you have left, and then have a really great week. Keep an eye on the channel. I'll be posting updates as we go. Whatever changes I make and things like that, I'll try to update if I do anything that's significant. Okay. So thanks to you all for being here, all however many of you, 18, 19, whatever it was. We'll see you next week, guys.